Morning, everyone. Morning. Happy Rotary Thursday. Good to see everybody here this morning. Good to see everybody on the Zoom side this morning. Welcome. Today's a good day today's all things Rotary. We're going to have a club assembly, talk a little bit about Rotary, about the club, what we've been doing, what we have planned for the rest of the year. So exciting morning. We're going to start with the invocation. And I believe Mason is going to join us on the invocation or lead the invocation. Is Mason on the Zoom side?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Mason, please.
Yes, sir. Good morning. All right, everybody, please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for giving us the opportunity to gather here today. I ask that you be with us as we carry out Rotary's mission and be with us as we have a positive impact in our community. All the glory be in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mason. Nice to have you with us this morning. Okay, for those on the in-person side, we're going to go ahead and do the pledge. So please face the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please have a seat. I haven't checked it, but can you hear me on the Zoom side? Perfect.
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Nichols. All right. So we're going to go ahead and start with guests. I'm looking around the room over here. I don't see any guests or visiting Rotarians. It's all family on the in-person side. We do have Manuel. Oh, he's a member. Uh-huh. Okay. So we have no guests on our side. And anything on the Zoom side? Anybody can help me out with any guests or visiting Rotarians on the Zoom side? All right, it's all family today. So we'll go ahead and move over to announcements. Anybody have anything special they want to announce, share with the club, anything going on in your lives? Cynthia? You look like you want to say something.
There has been a significant shortage of blood in the North Alabama area, and I was thinking about doing a blood drive. However, I need at least 18 people to make it work. They won't do one without 18 people. Therefore, if you would show with a show of hands for those that are here who might be interested, and for those online, if you just send me an email so that I can get a head count. Thank you.
I just gave blood, Cynthia, so I can't. I'm stuck for another 6 months.
Peter, would you just tell everybody, we have 5 Rotarians come out Monday for the food distribution. There'll be another one that's coming Monday at 9 to 9:30 they start.
Okay. So Mark just wanted to share Farmers to Families. We had 5 Rotarians come out this last Monday, and they were needed and helpful. So thank you to our club and the Rotarians and Mark for leading that. And this next Monday, there'll be another Farmers to Family event, and they can use a hand if you're available on that Monday. So thank you. Any questions, just direct those to Mark. Any other announcements? Anything on the Zoom side you want to share? Okay. Let's move over to club business. If you want to share something, please feel free to do it. But on the club business side, I just have one item, RLI. So a lot of members signed up for RLI. I think there's a lot of interest because it's Rotary Leadership Institute, because it's virtual, so it makes it easier. I think there might be some confusion on the dates that for those that signed up. It's both days. It's not one day or the other. So it's April 10th and April 17th. Both days are training days. Again, not one day or the other. So you would have to participate both those days. So some Rotarians have had conflicts and I've had to pull them out because they can't do one date or the other. So it's just both those days, April 10th, April 17th. For those that signed up, you should get an email from Will Kirkpatrick with your registration link. So coming soon, before April 10th, you should get an email so you can register that way. And then you'll get your Zoom information once you register. So if you reached out to Will and you don't hear anything before April 10th, or maybe by next week, let me know and I'll see what's going on. It might be a little bit of a messier registration process than we've had in the past, but we'll get through it. And then everybody who wants to participate will be able to. So if you have any questions about RLI, just direct those to me and I'll take it to Will. No, it just gets you the level that you're working on. Yeah, so 1, 2, or 3, but it's both days of training, not one day or the other, and they're both Saturdays. Okay, that's all on club business for me. I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of things. Does anybody have any other club business before we move on to a couple of my slides and then the program? Trying to think. Okay. One thing we've been talking about this morning is just the return to normalcy, and we're all kind of watching for what that looks like. Again, I reached out to the Y not too long ago. I think April 9th is the Alabama drops the mask mandate, if that's the right date. And then we'll just see when it's safe for us to slowly start returning to the meeting, maybe get past the 20 limit capacity in this room. I know a lot of the folks in this room have already gotten vaccinated. Chris and I are keeping our eye on that. Okay, if you don't mind pulling up my slides, Fred. Oh, there you go. Are you sharing the screen? Did you share on the Zoom side already? No. Just minimize this. And then share. That's fine. I think they can see it from there. Okay, hopefully you can see the screen on the Zoom side. So just a couple of things before we move over to our assembly, where we talk about what we've been doing on our services. So for some of the newer Rotarians, this isn't working. If you don't mind moving to the next slide, Fred. Okay. So I'll just go through without the presentation. But one of the questions we sometimes ask ourselves, since we're talking about all things Rotary, is what does Rotary do? So Carla tried to define that not too long ago on our website. So this is what she came up with, because there's so many answers to that question. There are almost as many ways to answer this question as there are Rotary clubs. And a better question might be, what doesn't Rotary do? So that's what we settled on. Quite simply, Rotary is about service and fellowship. This is speaking specifically to our club. And I agree with that, service and fellowship. Rotarians know that these two ideas go hand in hand because through the fellowship of our service projects, we build our friendships that last a lifetime. And I would say that's true to the club. The friendships that I have closest in this club are the ones that we've been, in the dirt, grabbing things, planting things, cutting things, or just being next to each other. Those are the Rotarians that we really build relationships with versus just trying to create a relationship here in the breakfast meeting. So that's what we say Rotary does, and that's on our website. Thank you, Carla, for putting that together. A couple of birthdays and anniversaries. So tomorrow is Melissa Gibson's birthday. So happy birthday, Melissa. Happy birthday tomorrow, if you're with us on the Zoom side. And Tony, who's with us over here, 2 days. So is that Saturday, Tony? Happy birthday, Tony, on Saturday. A couple of member anniversaries, and these are interesting. And maybe somebody on the Zoom side is with us. And I think I saw Bob on there that can share a little about this. Sheila, Alex Luttrell, Bob Driggers, and Gail LaCroix all had their anniversary on the 5th. And I think they're charter members. So 22 years. So I guess the club is 22 years old. And these 4 Rotarians all share the same date. So I don't know how the joining of the charter members worked. John, are you a charter member? Missed it by a month. So Bob, I think you're on the Zoom side, Bob. Can you share what that was like 22 years ago when you joined the club? Does Bob have his mute on? Bob, I'm not hearing you. Is your mute on or? There we go. Bob, I think you're still muted. Okay, or is Alex on the Zoom or Sheila? To share what that was like 22 years ago when you first joined the club? Okay. We might be having some technical difficulty, but I thought that was interesting that all 4 of these Rotarians, and that's our anniversary. So I want to know how old this club is. It's 22 years old, and those 4 are some of the first, if not the first Rotarians to establish that. Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hey, sorry about that. I got mixed up and I couldn't get back. Okay, what it was like, well, the Huntsville club sponsored us, so they were eager to have a club out here in Madison. And I think we must have had about 15 people or more, so several have left. And we met, as I recall, in the bar of a hotel there on Old Madison, on Highway 20. And so those first probably 8 years was struggled. I think I was the 3rd president at the time. We did move over across the street to what was a Ramada Inn, and it's I remember our breakfasts were just it was basically cornflakes and coffee. So we've come up in the world, and I don't know, people like Ron Klein joined the club, then it kind of took off, and Pat Cross, and it got a lot better. But it was, we have done a lot for this community, and it's been a very good thing for us and for Madison. Sorry about I got lost on my computer there, but anyway.
You're good, Bob. Thank you for sharing that. I know John joined a month later, so I guess the club didn't take off when John joined. It was when. All right. So, and then also Debbie Overcash, I guess she missed it by just a year, and she joined April 1st, and she'll be with the club 21 years. So Debbie's close behind there. So we have a wedding anniversary here, Brenda and Rod. Congratulations, 33 years. So 33 years tomorrow. Congratulations, Brenda. A couple of interesting upcoming programs. On the 8th, which is next week, we have the small business challenges. So a couple of small businesses in our area will talk about how COVID affected them in the Madison area. Dr. Neil Lamb from Hudson Alpha will be here on the 15th to talk about COVID and any questions we might have about a return to normalcy, maybe he can help us with. And then we have Alabama politics, the good, the bad, and the ugly on the 22nd, and ideological labels in politics on the 29th. So not picking one side or another, just talking in general terms about Alabama politics. So that should be fun. Okay, that is all I had from my side. I'm going to turn this over to Erik so we can begin our club assembly. So Erik.
Good morning. For the newer members in the club, my name is Erik Simonson. I am your club service director for this year. And today, our bylaws actually have require that we do some club assemblies every year. One of those early in the fiscal year is to present the club budget. The one today is to have each of your 5 service directors talk to you about what exactly they've done this year and what is planned for the remaining part of this year's Rotary year. Peter stole a little bit of my thunder, but we have Rotary. A lot of people, and I had this question too when I joined. What does Rotary do? And Peter touched on it. We do what doesn't Rotary do? But the way I look at it is we have some guiding principles. If you go to Rotary International's website, you can look those up. And essentially, we have our 4-way test over here is how we as individual Rotarians strive to live our lives and how we think about what we individually do. But then what we do in the community is guided by the 5 avenues of service. And those are club service, community service, international service, youth service, and vocational service. Thank you, Carrie. Much better. I think it looked better with the bell in front of my face. But I appreciate that. And so my point is, when you ask what exactly do we do in Rotary? Well, those are the 5 avenues of service that we perform both internally and externally to the community. And so we're going to have each of those 5 service directors today stand up and give you just a little bit, very short, brief synopsis of what that function is. And hopefully in the future, I'm working with Chris McBride and Melissa Gibson to come up with a new member packet that may go into more details so that we have information to put in your hand when you join the club. Or the other thing that Peter mentioned is RLI, Rotary Leadership Institute. I've been through all 3 levels. Mark Jacobson has done that too. I know a lot of people in this room have, but if you're just interested in learning a little more about what is Rotary, I highly, highly recommend that every member at least take RLI level 1, because that's what that is. RLI 1 is an introduction to Rotary and what it is. RLI 2 is a little more in the leadership aspect. You say, okay, yeah, I got this Rotary thing. Now I want to take, I want to take a leadership role. I want to be one of those service directors. I want to, whatever. RLI 2 is your leadership course. And then RLI 3 is the real in-depth. They go into how to get international grants, those kinds of things. So there is a method to the madness. But again, I just really encourage every member to at least consider that level 1 RLI. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start this off. Bill Holtzclaw, I believe, is on the Zoom side, and he has a prior commitment he needs to get to. So Bill, if you would start. Bill is your vocational service director, and he is going to give us a short brief on what his avenue of service has been doing this year. Go ahead, Bill.
Hey, folks, everyone. Hope you can hear me. Good morning. Literally on my way to a doctor's appointment that starts in about 10 minutes. As far as the vocation, the primary thing that we've done is we continue to work with K-Tech, which is an outreach of Kids to Love. We have provided a couple of scholarships in years past. We do about one a year that assist one of their students to be able to join the course. My wife's going to drive me to the doctor here in just a minute, so hang on. So what we've done though with that scholarship is we've also participated in the actual course. It's they do 2 a semester, or they do 2 semesters throughout the calendar year. And we've been able to participate as a club. And one of the courses that they do is a life lab. So during the time that they're at K-Tech, we will, there are different life labs that they do, kind of helping them with some practical application, so to speak. And one of the ones that we do is a integrity life lab that's built around the 4-way test. And several members have helped us. I believe we've done 3 thus far since we've been able to support K-Tech. And we've been able to build, we basically have a slideshow. We've done 2 in person, and because of COVID, we've done 1 that is done via Zoom. But what this Life Lab does is we build in the 4-way test and kind of give some practical application to things that they might experience in the workplace, things that they experience in their public life that can help them better be prepared. And by the way, the next one of those is coming up Uh, so April 27th is from 1 to 3 p.m. It's going to be done at K-Tech, which is where we'll typically do it at. And if anyone is interested, you can shoot me an email. I typically have a group of about 4 or 5 Rotarians that go and provide that in-person training. The K-Tech class is typically class size is anywhere from 5 to 8, and age range anywhere from 18 to mid 30s. So it's a great mix of for us to be able to provide that. And this is just a great way for us to kind of give these folks a leg back up into the community to get employed, and that's what Vocation does. That's it, Eric.
Okay, great rundown, Bill. Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and go next as club service director. It's been an interesting year. So the focus of club service, you're going to hear next from Peter, who's going to cover for Sarah Sledge, who is your community service director. And the way I think of it is, whereas community service is outwardly focused in what the club does out to the community, club service is more inwardly focused on how do we make sure we have a strong, healthy, vibrant club. And some of the key areas of club service include membership, which obviously it all starts with membership, making sure we have strong, healthy membership, with social activities to make sure that people remain engaged, because one of our primary reasons for joining Rotary is the social aspect. And then the third major area is this club meeting, this weekly meeting we have. That doesn't just happen by itself. So those are the things that club service does to make sure we have a strong and healthy club. Now, I talked about social events, and you say, we haven't had one of those in a year. So what have you been doing? and the truth is, you're exactly right. For the last year, we just have not been able to gather and do the normal social events that we usually do. But to let the folks who joined us during that time, and the good news is we had quite a few members join under COVID. So I'm glad and encouraged to see that happen. But hang in there. Don't get bored. We would typically in the fall, we would have a pre-parents pool party, graciously hosted in the past by the Overcashes, or it could be somewhere else this year. We don't know, but that's a great time to get together as a club before our big fundraiser of the year and enjoy, camaraderie. We typically have had a Christmas party, and oftentimes in the past, Mark Jacobson has hosted that graciously at his house. We have had a golf tournament in the spring, which unfortunately we've had to forego the last 2 springs. And then one of the biggest events is the annual dinner. And I've talked to Peter, I've talked to Chris, and as of right now, I'm pleased to say that we are planning on going forward with an in-person annual dinner this year. Now, the Rotary year changes over at the end of June, the 1st of July, okay? And so that we would be planning that annual dinner sometime in the last week of the last week of June. We don't have a specific date. That will be driven by the venues that are available to us. We've got a couple venues that we're checking into, but please kind of put a circle around the last full week in June and say, hey, don't make any big plans, because this is a great event. And especially this year when we haven't had a chance to get together, hopefully most, if not all, the club will have an opportunity to get their vaccines. Things should be opening back up. Mask orders should be lifted, and we should be able to safely get together and have just a wonderful dinner. So I'm really looking forward to that. But again, so what have I been doing this year? These weekly meetings, Peter asked me to take over managing what we call the pods, programs of the day. Typically that had been assigned to the president-elect, but Peter had a special mission for Chris McBride this year to do the strategic plan, and he wanted to give her the freedom to go and off and do that, and she did a wonderful job. So he asked me as club service to step up and take over the programs today. And actually, that does fall under club service. We have, in the past, we've had the president-elect be the committee chair for that person. But again, as I said, these weekly meetings don't just happen. We use the pod leaders to go ahead and pull them together. And I think we've had some excellent meetings this year, especially under COVID. We had some great speakers, and we got more great speakers to come. So looking forward to the annual dinner. I'm going to now turn it over to Peter Alvarez, who's going to cover community service.
Thank you, Eric. And before I forget, I just want to thank all the club service directors for doing such a great job this year. It's been a different year. And as Eric mentioned, I feel like we're engaged. Maybe I'm biased because I want us to be as engaged as we can be during this year. So I just appreciate everything that the directors have done. So I'm going to do community service for Miss Sarah. So Miss Sarah, just as an FYI, is on leave of absence until December. She's had a lot of family stuff come up. Her mom's real sick, and she's just doing everything she can to really take care of her mom. So just keep Sarah in your thoughts. If you see her out there, just tell her, hey, she loves the club. Looking forward to coming back. It just needs to take a step away for a second. So community service is one of our avenues of service. I would venture to say it's one of our most important avenues of service. That's just, maybe I'm a little biased on that. But what community service actually does from the Rotary perspective is it encourages every Rotarian to find ways to improve the quality of life for people in our communities and to serve the public interest. So that's really what we're trying to do from the community service perspective. I hope that comes through. For Madison Rotarians, this could be as simple as staining the deck of a disabled veteran to purchasing medical equipment for hospitals, which we've done both of those. So that just defines kind of what community service is to Rotary. Some of the things that we've done on this odd COVID year, just to kind of give you an update. So the children's transport, that's done by Boiling and Bragging. That's where our district 6860 raises money to help that children's transport, and we supported that financially. Normally we volunteer a little bit for that. I know Pat goes down there with Roger, but this year we just cut a check, and of course that money goes to transporting children that are in emergency to where they need to go. So that's considered a community service. We had our Pirates of the Caribbean event. It was a different year. It was a different event, but we held it, raised $15,000, and the community part comes in when we gave that $15,000 to Madison Hospital to buy a mobile ventilator. We had Marilyn Wright over here tell us how grateful she was for that mobile ventilator. And that's in part to everybody, thanks to everybody in this room and on the Zoom side for participating, helping with parents, raising that money. That's the community itself that helped us raise that money. So again, that went to a good cause, I think very timely. The Purple Pinky Donut Drive. I see Mark is on the Zoom side. I don't know if he's excited about it. It's coming up again at some point. So, but I think Mark, as a new Rotarian, did a great job with the Purple Pinky Donut Drive. We raised good money. I think we were second in the district. And of course, that goes to End Polio Now. So we can end or help end polio and vaccinate a bunch of people against polio. So even though it's a lot of fun, the end result of that fun turns out for good in the community globally. We had our Thanksgiving baskets for the needy. So we've been doing that project, I think, for 20 years now. And I think that's Melissa Gibson does a great job on that, leading that. And we raise anywhere from 20 to 30 to 40 boxes of food. So families that might not experience a good Thanksgiving have an opportunity to experience a very fulfilling Thanksgiving, at least food-wise. We did a little bit of Christmas spirit at Madison Library, and I say a little bit. Cynthia had a vision to add some Christmas spirit by decorating somewhere in Madison. She was out of town, so she left it to 4 guys to do it. So it could have, I think the decorating could have been a little bit better, but the trees were up. So, but thank you for Cynthia for having that vision. And we also did hot cocoa at the drive-in. Instead of doing the Christmas parade, we had some, because of COVID, Madison decided to do a drive-in movie, 2 Christmas shows, and we as a club went there, provided hot cocoa for free. Everybody was so surprised. Free? You don't want anything? We said, no, this is for the community. So just a small gesture to the Madison community from our club. The River of Hope Project, we supported that both financially and with volunteers, and it's the gift that keeps on giving. So we go back there and make sure it's looking good. I think we supported them to the tune of $1,000. They raised over $10,000, and with that money, they helped the schools. Madison City Schools bought some laptops and things for students that needed laptops. So again, we see a River of Hope, we see a rock garden, but at the end of the day, we're really helping our students in the community by participating in that project. Rainbow Mountain cleanup. Don's here. We did some cleanup on Rainbow Mountain. It was kind of clean, so that's good for our community. But we picked up the 10 pieces of trash that were out there. We did Operation Cleanup. I think Mark helped lead that one, and that was where we did some of the recycling and things like that. We helped out getting cardboard boxes and things recycled in our city. The Monarch Butterfly Project. I'm getting to the end here. The Monarch Butterfly Project. So that's another gift that keeps on giving. That was featured in the Rotary magazine. Bailey took that idea and ran with it, and it's turned out to be, we have inroads everywhere with the Monarch Butterfly Project in the schools, in the community. So that's something, it's an outdoor project. A lot of people have gravitated towards it. So that one keeps going if you're on Bailey's email list. And last but not least, the Apollo Run support. So we had a couple of runs here, and we support those. And through the support that we do by volunteering, they give us a small amount of money, and then we then take that money and use it for things in the community. So it all works out. What we have going in the future of the community is right now we're working on Home Place Park. So that's a signature project, the amphitheater. So we're having meetings with the city on what that looks like. Our last meeting with the city was a week ago. And I think the next step is they're going to take us to the park, some of the board members and other interested parties, take us to the park so we can talk about signage for Rotary, whether that's a Rotary wheel or a plaque or a version of both, where that's going to go. But they thought the best way to do it is actually go there and start seeing where that placement's going to be. So if you have any opinions on that, please feel free to share them. I know we'll have to run that by Rotary International for the brand guidelines to make sure we're following those brand guidelines. But right now for community next 3 months, we're just looking at fulfilling that signature project that we kind of agreed to a couple years ago. Again, we're going to donate $50,000 to that amphitheater. That'll be the Rotary Amphitheater. So the community can enjoy that amphitheater that we're helping build. I think the park itself is going to cost $250,000, and so far we've been the biggest donation, and they're going to try to leverage that to get other donations from the community. So thank you to everybody here. What I just mentioned is stuff that you're all doing, that the club is doing. So so thank you for your efforts on community. That's all I got. Carrie, you're up. And if anybody has any good community project ideas, it doesn't start with the board. You can just bring those forward and we'll see what we can do.
So good morning. I'm the youth service director. And first off, my daughter turned 16. So everybody needs to stay off the roads now. What Peter forgot to mention also is we also made a donation for Huntsville or Madison City Schools to get graduation gowns for those that couldn't afford it. So it's been a trying year for youth services director in that we interact with Interact, and Interact has not been able to meet this year just because of going virtual, non-virtual, and things like that. However, the good side is, one, we had a great thing of doing Bob Jones again. So we have an Interact Club at Bob Jones. And we also have a sponsor for that Interact Club. And she's doing well. As we all know, she had a death in the family, but she's doing a lot better now. She's getting back to not being overwhelmed. Kim Cromes. So both of our sponsors are looking forward to something back to normal for next year. Patrice O'Donnell is our sponsor over at James Clemens, and they have not been able to meet yet. She says they might have some type of volunteer thing coming up, and she'll keep me abreast. I wanted to this year also is to get some Rotarians involved at the schools, you know, talking about professions and things like that. And of course, that did not happen. So I'm your youth services director for next year, and my plan is to back to normal, get as much as we can done. Finally, RILA. We had RILA this year. We normally have, it's about 120 folks come to RILA. We were about 60. Rotary Youth Leadership Assembly. That's good enough, right? So, and what it is the district brings in youth from all over the district, and we sponsored one youth this year, and but it was actually a friend of Pat Cross's. But and again, it comes back to the interact not meeting, and it's just. But Ryla went off great. They had a good time. The speakers also were done via Zoom, so we had a bit of a challenge there. But overall, we had a great time at Ryla as well. And so next year, of course, we'll be doing Ryla again. And if anybody's interested in helping out with Ryla, I'll be more than happy to take them and go. And again, my plan for next year is to bring as many Rotarians into the schools to discuss things they do and things that, you know, the young adult might want to listen to versus Snapchat and Instagram and Twitter and all that other stuff. So thank you. And the next person will be John Allen.
Last but not least.
Definitely least.
Hey, good morning. Great to see everybody this morning in person, and good to see everybody on the Zoom call. But my name is John Allen. I'm the International Services Director this last year, and fortunately will be in the following year. So to give you a little idea about international services, we have been as a club in Honduras for 12 to 14 years. It actually started with vitamin donations that grew into visits to Honduras, that grew into getting to know the Rotary Club down in Choluteca in Honduras, that grew into medical and dental visits and work that we do in Honduras today. So this last year, certainly through COVID, has been challenging in the international world. We did not get to travel to Honduras, which we normally do in February of each year on average. We've been other months, but typically in February. And so this year, really the focus of our international group has been in conjunction with the strategic plan, really focusing on what is our future and what is our long-term play in international service work for our club. So if you've read the strategic plan, which we really highly encourage you to read that, it's great detail about where the club's going and all of these avenues of service and just the overall focus of the club and where the club's going. But in particular, in the international service piece, is really describes a longer term vision for our international service work. So during this COVID era of the last year, we've really been able to focus on what is our long-term play. And that really came from some of my visits that I had 2 years ago and even in early 2020, because we did get to go in February of last year. But so much of our work is really predicated on the ability of our professionals that go, Michael St. Peter and Amy Thompson, both that go to do dental work and vision work for the Hondurans that we visit all over the southwest region of Honduras. And so really the question is, if our professionals are not able to participate for some reason during our visits to Honduras, our international service work has a single point of failure in that area. They do tremendous work. If you've ever been down there with them, the type of impact they have for the Hondurans is just incredible and really makes a difference in the day-to-day lives of Hondurans down there. But again, it's kind of that single point of failure. So my vision has been where can we really plant a flag? Where can we plant a long-term impact for the Madison Rotary Club in Honduras? And I can tell you, and others that have been there many more years than I have, it's the personal relationships that take time to develop in these international service projects that are so important, because it's that trust that takes years to build with individuals that you see year over year, and we're transferring funds and we're having international conversation with these individuals. And so really making sure we have that trust factor. And that's why, quite frankly, the Honduras Choluteca Club, we have those deep relationships with that Rotary Club. The value and the requirement to work in international service is to partner, of course, with an international club. And quite frankly, in Honduras, the value in that is you have a lot of people in the Rotary Club of Choluteca that are business members of the community. They have connections to the local leadership. And so when it comes to the safety of our club and the safety of our work that we're actually doing in Southwest Honduras, it's pretty important to have those relationships as well. So fast forward to what we've learned really in the last year. We, in 2020, February, when we went down there, spent a good bit of time with a group called Fundesur, which is a non-government organization in Southwest Honduras. They're a somewhat of a charitable organization. They're funded by the shrimp industry, which is one of the main industries in Southwest Honduras, partly sugarcane and fruits and other things like that in the Southwest. But they actually get funded through the shrimp exporting business to the tune of about $1 million a year that they are governed by their organization to spend in Southwest Honduras. Well, that's where we've been working for the last 12 to 14 years, is in Southwest Honduras. The beauty of that as well is they're not tied to the government. The Honduran government is very challenged in leadership, and the people continue to suffer because they have poor leadership, and the help that goes to the government never makes it to the people. And we see that month after month in article after article about Honduras. And so for us to have the ability to work with our Rotary friends in Choluteca, also partnering with this group called Fund de Sur, I think we have really an opportunity to plant a flag in Southwest Honduras and really make an impact. So what does that look like? So our hope as we move forward is somewhere in Rotary first quarter of 22 Rotary year, which is August, September, we might be able to take a trip, depending on travel, down to see Fund de Sur face to face and have really a conversation with them and our Rotary friends to start talking about specific areas and villages that we can plant our Rotary flag with them and really invest in a single community at a time. So it's clear from our conversations with Fund de Sur, and I don't know if we sent the link out. We had a Zoom call with Fund de Sur. I think it was in January. Tremendous call with them. We're welcome to send the link out as well to see what we talked about. But they have a real desire to partner with us in this long-term effort too. So our goal is to visit with them, start looking at where are some of the communities that we can really make an impact, which is shelter, food, water, clothes, all of those basic necessities of life, and then work with Fund de Sur to have that ability for them to find work inside and outside of their community, grow their own community. Once we're successful in one community, we have a model that's successful in this one small community, we're able then to pick that up and move that over into Southwest Honduras to another community and hopefully replicate that. And that's the challenge in international work. It takes a long time for us to actually make a difference. But we believe by planting a flag in one location, working in one location, we're going to be able to do that over the long term. So hopefully we're going to be able to travel in February of 22. So if you have an interest in traveling to Honduras, please do. It's a fun trip. It's always interesting trip, but we have a great time as well. So hopefully we'll travel then. We're going to still do probably our dental and vision. We'll continue to do that as long as Michael and Amy have a desire and can participate, obviously, in that. And so we're going to do that as well. But as we move into the 22, 23 Rotary year, as we start identifying that village, then we can really start working on the specifics of what we're going to do in that village as well, collectively. So this work takes a long time to do. It can't be done overnight, and it takes some time to create those relationships. But I think we've got a good plan forward, and would encourage the board, the boards in the next 3 to 5 years to stay true to this vision and mission and see where we can go in the next 3 to 5 years. Thanks.
And I'm going to very quickly close out with one alibi. I mentioned the great success we've had in adding new members to the club, but I failed to give credit to Emily McIntosh, who is your membership chair. She's done a fantastic job. I believe she's going to continue as your membership chair next year. So thank you, Emily. Peter?
Thank you, Eric. Thank you all. Great club assembly. I think anybody who's newer or even us longtime Rotarians, not the longest time Rotarians, but got a better feeling about what we're doing, what we're gonna do. Even in years like this, I think this club is just amazing in accomplishing the things that it's done. So, are there any questions before we close out? Any comments? Okay, if not, please stand for the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, first.
Is it the truth?
Second.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Third.
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Fourth. Will it be
beneficial to all concerned?
Okay. Thank you all. Have a good day. Thank you.